Can hear you, Martin. Morning. You
absence. Damon, could you give an update? Do we have any absences to inform of?
Yes, we do, Chair. We have apologies from Councillor Dale.
Okay, thank you. Moving straight on to point number 2, declarations of interest. So I'd like members to declare if they've got any additional disclosable pecuniary interests other than what is already written on their submissions to date. If not, then I'll move swiftly on again. Point 3, there's the minutes from the last meeting. So I'd like to move that the minutes circulated this week is a true reflection of the minutes from the Claycross Town Board meeting held on the 18th of September. Councillor Renwick, second that. Thank you. Then we have to put that to the record. I'd like to make a small change to the agenda due to the commercial sensitivity of the town investment plan. If we move that to the end of the meeting when we're not live streaming. So I'd move on to point 5, which is the working group structure. So I'd hand over to Carl Apps to give an update here, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm hidden behind this somewhere. Here we go. So I'm here, just so you're aware.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. So the first part is the working group. So as you're aware, we have had some groups working already, and that will continue once the town investment plan has been submitted and we move into the project proposal development stage and business case development. And a big part of that work is around those areas that have been identified. But what we're hoping for is that we can get some sponsors from the board to work with these groups, and then they'll come to the board meetings and then they will feedback as to the progress of these individual working groups. I sent this out earlier in the week, and we've had some people put their hand up and ask if they can be involved. So the Town Centre Regeneration Group, which is currently configured as the Built Environment Working Group, and that's looking at the Market Street, Bridge Street projects, infill housing, biodiversity, public realm, traffic management, Kearney Green, industrial pieces of work. So we've asked for some people for that, and Councillor Morley and Andrew King have both put their names forward, and Councillor Renwick was asked if she would be able to also attend those groups to support the delivery of that piece of work. Also, we've got the Skills and Enterprise Board. It's an established board, and it's already well attended from council members, but also from outside parties. And Richard Morecambe has asked if he could be the sponsor for that particular group, and so he'll feed back to the Claycross Town Board as to the progress and the work that's happening with that. Shirley Park Leisure Centre, that board, that working group has been established pre the town investment plan, because that's a piece of work that's been happening probably since about January 2019. So that's quite well progressed compared to some of the other pieces of work. And so there's an existing working group, and a couple of the board members are already on that group. So it's been decided that that working group will continue as it is, because it's well established and working well, and that Lee Hickin will respond to the board as to the piece of work that's happening on there, because I believe he chairs the Shirley Park Leisure Centre board. Then we also have the Claycross Creative, and as you're aware, that's the group that's in development at this point, and it's around youth initiatives, active events, public art programmes, linking with the Skills Hub as well. And Councillor Barker would like to be the link from that group to this board. And then we also have the Shadow Youth Board. At this point, that's a board that's not yet in development, but it's something that we're going to do over the course of now and the town investment plan coming back, hopefully to say that it's been agreed, the heads of terms. So initially I was going to try and work with the local younger people to try and pull that together, potentially calling on colleagues from Chesterfield College and potentially the university to see that we can try and get a spread of Claycross residents on that board. And the aspiration is that the head chair of that board, which will be a youth person, will be the person who then attends this board and does the link from that too. So at this point, the board doesn't have a representative from that youth chair because it doesn't obviously exist, but they will do, and they will bring that forward. And we think that's an important part of the engagement plan for the next stage of the project development. And I think it's potentially good practice to make sure that those people who are sometimes disenfranchised from this piece of work will be involved. So that name is to be confirmed, but I'll support them working with, as I said, colleagues from the college university to identify the right people. And then the last one is we've got the low carbon energy type work, which has been a golden thread, I suppose, working through the town investment plan. And we feel it is our unique selling point and makes us sort of stand out. And the person who's sort of put the hand up for that is Bob Murdoch from Worcester Bosch. Again, obviously an expert in energy and low carbon. So it'd be great if Bob can do that and be that link between that group, which is in development. And obviously we need to sort of progress some of this stuff. And we've had people from Cadent say that they wish to be involved in this group as well. So we've got some of the right people around and involved. And then finally, we've got the rail group. As you know, we want a train station as part of this ask. Is the sort of town investment plan will lay the ground for a rail station in Clay Cross, hopefully in the foreseeable future. And Lee Rowley has agreed to be the link between that group and this board. Lee, as you're aware, is very passionate about rail and connectivity and sustainable transport. So that's a great fit for us, I think. So that's the working groups as we've established. Is there any comment on that? Or is the board happy for the people I've mentioned to be involved? Does anybody else wish to throw their hat into the ring and be a part of these working groups?
Chair, just to ask the leisure one, who was the board member for the leisure one, the Charlie Park project?
So thank you, Councillor Kenny. The link between the Charlie Park Leisure Centre and the town investment plan would be Lee Hickin.
Lee Hickin's not a board member though.
Very true. So yeah, he's the link. But obviously, if there's a board sponsor as well, if there's somebody willing to come forward for that, that would be helpful.
Well, it's my portfolio at council, so I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, so there's an existing Charlie Park Leisure Centre group. So we'd sort of speak with Matt and Lee to sort of make sure that you sort of fit in with that and you're aware of the existing processes, and then within that way, you can feedback. Thank you.
Are we all happy for that from the rest of the group?
Chair, could I just ask that the composition of those groups and attendees from different organisations is confirmed as well?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll pull together. We've started to some of the groups that are existing, so we can pull them together. And those groups that are in development, we will make sure they're identified, and we can circulate it to the board. And then if you see anybody that should be on there and has been missed solely by accident, I'm sure, but you can make sure they're put forward. And if there's any other organisations that you feel should be represented on there, then you can let us know. So we'll do that piece of work.
We'll make sure it's clear it's known who is the chair, who is the sponsor, and who is just a participant. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next point, which is next steps. So again, straight back to Carl.
Thank you, Gary. So the next steps is we've got the town investment plan to discuss when the meeting is no longer live. It's been circulated to the group already. Hopefully you've had a chance to read it. What I would ask for you to do is for all comments to return to me by Tuesday next week. We've had a check and challenge session with the town hub which has been really helpful. Actually, that was held yesterday, and they talked us through some stuff, some of the bits that they really liked, some bits where we could presentationally improve it, I think. We've also had feedback from Melanie as well in terms of the experience she's learned from cohort 1, and also some other bits, because Mel and her sort of colleagues will be the ones scoring it, so it's about making it as easy as possible for them to read and score. And so the at this point we're over the word limit, which obviously we're aware of, but there are things that we can do to sort of bring down that word limit. So where there's any sort of hint of duplication, we can take that out, but also where there's the opportunity to use infographics, which will obviously lift the report in itself, but also will reduce the word count, because as you know, a picture paints 1,000 words. So there are opportunities to get the message across in a slightly simpler and easier way. So if I can have all comments back by Tuesday next week to me, appreciate that's only a few days away, but the report was circulated earlier in the week, so hopefully you've had a chance to read it already. I don't know, I'll share those with Nexus. I'll sort of try and collate them and group them thematically, so that it makes it easier for Nexus to deal with it in one hit rather than going direct to Nexus, because then they could end up with 50 emails where it could be easier just to have the one. So that's the ask, really. And then once the work's been done, Nexus, I wasn't going to propose that we have another board meeting, a formal board meeting as such as this, because of the timescales in terms of getting the papers in would mean that probably Nexus had got probably a week to work on that piece of feedback from everybody and get it designed up. So the hope is that we will get the feedback on Tuesday, share that with Nexus. They will build that into the work, the plan. We'll take on board the work, the feedback we've had already, and then we will get that designed up and in a position that we can circulate it via email to this group, and then that can then be agreed electronically. But just gives that it gives Nexus a little bit longer to make sure the town investment plan is right, and they're not having to rush it for a board meeting timescales. So appreciate doing it electronically is not ideal, but because we're getting that close now to the final timescale of the 30th of October, and the timescales of having to publish papers, we need to give Nexus as long as possible. So is everybody comfortable with that approach? So timescales is Tuesday for feedback to me. I'll get it to Nexus, and then Nexus will pull it together. And as soon as we've got the final draft, we'll get that circulated via email. We have a few days to read it, depending on obviously when it comes in. Hopefully give you as long as possible to read it in advance of the 30th of deadline, and then all comments back to me, and then hopefully we'll get it submitted. If we can have some nods of heads or fingers up or whatever.
If you guys can put your cameras on just so we can have a show of hands on that, make sure we have agreement.
Okay, thank you. That feels like everybody's sort of on board with that approach. Obviously, it's not ideal, but the deadline's approaching quickly, so I don't think we could do it in any other way, really. Thank you.
Thank you. And so if we can now unusually go to any other business, which won't be the last point for this meeting. So any other business from the board members? If no additional topics to raise, then we can move to the draft town investment plan submissions. And I think we need to switch off the live feed at this point due to the commercial sensitivity of the topic.